Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate you. If I look the same as I did in my last video, it's because I'm filming it literally mere seconds after finishing that one. I am very much giving yassified chess from Parent Trap today, and I kind of love it. So I feel very cute. Today, I'm coming at you with another reaction video because y'all seemed to eat that shit up the last time, and I was like, cool, noted. I will start adding more reaction videos into my repertoire of videos, and honestly, I kind of like it because preparing for like sit down kind of think piecey videos takes some time. And it was keeping me from like making content, and so I'm really happy to like have this new kind of video to kind of like put into my rotation, you know. I'm definitely not going to become just a reaction channel. I pinky promise you all that because I know how redundant as a YouTube viewer that can be. So I promise you that's not where I'm going with this. But it is nice to know that you guys enjoy it. Today's reaction is to someone that I have a little bit of empathy for, but not nearly as much as I had for Anna / Glitter and Lasers. And today we're going to be reacting to Marissa Matthews. And if you know anything about fat acceptance, you probably know who she is. She's a very outspoken fat acceptance activist on TikTok. I don't really know how old she is or anything. I do know she lives in Canada. But, in my humble opinion, she is everything that I hate about fat acceptance in a person. So, yeah. And I'm not gonna be, like, using her content as, like, a haha, look at this fat person doing things, because that would be hypocritical, because I am still, like, not a thin person. For context, if you're new here, I had weight loss surgery back in 2018, lost 100 pounds. Now it's like I lost 85 pounds because I'm fighting some regain, but that's fine. And I'm just trying to get that back off because I felt better. But yeah, so I'm still like not a thin person. So I'm not making this video in the, like, to be like, haha, fat person doing things. Absolutely not. I kind of made my own compilation of TikToks of hers that I think really kind of scratch the surface of the problems that I think her content kind of starts. But I don't really think she gives a shit, and that's fine. But I'm just here to react and lend my commentary as someone who used to be in the fat acceptance movement, kind of. Back in the day, and I'm using her content as anecdotal evidence. So that's the plan for today. I'm gonna actually screen record properly this time, so the sound quality will be better. And yeah, so let's just get to it. All right, I'm scooched over, so there will be ample space. And I do believe I have figured out how to screen record with sound now, so we won't have the same issue we had last time. I do have my protein coffee, and I'm getting ready to sip on it while we take this all in. And yeah, so let's just get started.
You can think that all you want, but the body positive movement and the HAVE movement is not about your own personal body image. It has nothing to do with how you see yourself or you see your body. It has nothing to do with your insecurities. The HAVE movement is about changing how society views marginalized bodies and dismantling the discrimination and oppression that marginalized bodies face. And that, my friend, has absolutely nothing to do with how you view your body. It has to do with how others view it. And it has to do with how others mistreat you because of it. And that is why thin people are not meant for the body positive movement. Because thin people cannot be oppressed because of their thin body. Because we live in a society that idolizes thin bodies. So thank you, but it has nothing to do with body image. But there's lots of other movements out there that you can join that has to do with that. So good luck. Thanks for the question, but the HAVE movement or the body positive movement is not about insecurities. So if you're in the movement to try and be more secure, then that you're in the wrong movement. Go find another movement. Go find the body acceptance movement, the self-love movement, the body neutrality movement, the body confidence movement. The body positive movement is not about your insecurities, especially when 95% of those insecurities are about being fat. And this is just like from what I've observed with people talk about it. An example, people get insecure when they bloat. When you bloat, you get bigger. See the connection? So yeah, I don't give two fucks about your insecurities. Go find a movement that is not about marginalized bodies or fighting for equality or equal treatment. Find a movement that is not a socio-political movement. Find a movement that is actually about your own body image. Body positivity is not that.
I think these two videos, I think they really show kind of the gatekeeping that happens from the fat acceptance community around the body positivity community, which I think is just half-ass backwards, in my opinion. I think you can be body positive without being in the fat acceptance community, aka your girl. I'm actually trying to go more in the realm of body neutrality because that's what I feel like works well for me. But I do kind of hate how the fat acceptance movement has taken over the body positivity community, because body positivity started as a way for, yes, marginalized bodies to feel more positive about themselves. But those marginalized bodies consisted of people like amputees, burn victims, like things like that, or people like that, where their marginalizedness, sorry, was out of their control. And while I do think obesity, there are some factors that are out of our control, I think a lot of it can be controlled, and infiltrating a community of people like amputees and burn victims as a fat person being like, my struggle's the same as yours, doesn't add up to me. To be completely honest. But it's such a common rhetoric that like fat acceptance people have taken over the body positivity community when really they used to be two very different things. And I think body positivity in itself is a great thing for people to practice who need it, but having these fat acceptance activists gatekeeping who can and cannot be in the body positivity community just grinds my gears. I do agree with her that we do live in a society that favors thin people. I really do. I will tell anybody that losing a considerable amount of weight is one of the most interesting internal social experiments that you will ever do. I have experienced the treatment of both being a super morbidly obese person. I used to be 315 pounds. And now I am more of like a socially acceptable body, which I know that's a shitty thing, that's a thing anyways. But like, we do live in a society that does favor thin people more so. I do agree with her on that. But I don't think the way she's starting that conversation in any of her videos is going to do anything, because she's she's extremely condescending. She belittles people. I just don't think it's helping the fat acceptance message at all. I put those in there because that's one of my least favorite things about the fat acceptance community, is how much they have taken over the body positivity side of social media, which I do kind of think it's strange that there are all these sides in general, but like, I get it. That's just how the internet works. There's realms. I don't agree with how the fat acceptance community has taken over body positivity when body positivity wasn't even made for them in the first place. So yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
To let everybody know, especially if you're new to my page, that if
I'm pretty sure she's on the toilet in this video. And like, I have filmed TikToks while I was peeing, or like after I was peeing, but like, it was never one of me talking. I don't know. Oh, sorry. Horrible pause. Wow. Really bad pause face. But yeah, I do think she is on the toilet. Anyways, I just want to point that out. I don't know.
my fat acceptance space, or any fat acceptance space, or fat positivity space, body positivity space, and you come in here, especially if you're a thin person, and you come in here and you tell me that I'm wrong, or that you're not willing to listen or to be educated, or that you come in here trying to talk over us, then I'm gonna block you. I'm gonna delete your inconsiderate comments. I'm gonna delete your wrong comments, and then I'm gonna block you. Because you are not allowed to come into a fat positive space with your thin little fucking tears and demand space in a space that's not for you. So, thank you. Have a good day.
I'm sorry. So first of all, the hypocrisy of her screaming about people who are coming into a space that wasn't meant for them when she's a fat acceptance activist screaming about how thin people don't belong in body positivity. When she's a fat acceptance activist who is in body positive. Anyways, we already went over this. This is the second thing I hate about fat acceptance. I really picked some good ones. Like, good job, me. And that is the just general hatred of, like, people that aren't fat. I do think, and I've said this before, I do think that the fat acceptance community makes some valid points. I was talking about this with somebody in my life the other day, and I was like, I would say I disagree with about 95% of what they talk about, but there is like a solid 5% that I think is very important and should be talked about, aka like the mistreatment of fat people in the medical system, just society treating fat people differently, that kind of stuff. I do think that there are some very important conversations to be had about that, having been on both sides of the spectrum. But I don't think that telling people not to come into your comments with their thin fucking tears, or whatever she said, is the most conducive way to start that conversation and to have people listen to you. Because fat acceptance is like an advocacy group, isn't it? Like, that's kind of what I view it as an advocacy group. Maybe I'm mistaken. But typically when you're an advocacy group, you want people to listen to what you have to say. And I don't think that being condescending, and I know I'm being very condescending, but I don't think that being condescending and telling people we don't want your thin fucking tears is the best way to go about that. Also, this is creating an echo chamber. And this is like some cult shit right here, in my opinion. And this very much plays into the us versus them mentality that I talked about in one of my last videos, that fat acceptance creates, which doesn't help anybody involved. It doesn't help people outside of fat acceptance. It doesn't help people inside fat acceptance. I just don't think we should be blocking people for sharing their wrong opinions in your comments, because that's part of having a conversation, and that's a necessary part of educating people about your struggles and your thoughts. And that's what fat acceptance, again, I think is trying to do. But yeah, I just don't think that like saying, hey, if you comment something I disagree with, I'm gonna block you and I'm gonna delete it, is a very conducive way of like starting a conversation. Some of my more spicy videos, if I blocked comments, or if I deleted and blocked people who left comments that did not agree with what I said in that video, I would not have a comment section. So yeah, and honestly, some of those comments have started really great conversations in my comment sections, and I love that. I think that's great, and I think that's what more people need to do. This is not it though. This is not how you do that. Anyways, on to the next one.
You've convinced me. Who knows?
Okay, so if you're just listening to this, it says, if you lose weight, then people won't bully you for your body. She's saying this is like what people say to her, I think.
This humiliation could change my entire outlook on life.
Really?
No.
And then when it says now, it goes, no, losing weight doesn't get rid of fat phobia. It reinforces it. And so this is a third thing that I hate about fat acceptance. And that is creating a negative narrative around losing weight. Because in my initial fat acceptance sucks video that got me a lot of subscribers last year, this was one of the things that I talked about a lot. And it's that as a young 16, 17-year-old impressionable kid, which I do think the majority of the fat acceptance community on social media are younger people, which means that they are more susceptible to being influenced. As someone who was there, having some of my favorite people on the internet tell me that if I lost weight, that made me fat phobic, when I actively was against fat phobic people, I had a bit of an internal struggle with deciding to get healthier, even though my body was being like, Megan, it's time to make a change. And like, yeah. And so like, she has a lot of stuff about this on her TikTok. And I think this is one of the most dangerous things that fat acceptance can preach, is that if you decide to lose weight, you are becoming inherently what you are against, even though losing weight for most people is a very good thing to do. For the people who are in fat acceptance, is a very good thing to do because it's unhealthy. Like, I don't want to be one of those black or white people, but like in that instance, being super morbidly obese is unhealthy. And if you aren't experiencing the side effects of it yet, you probably will. It took me, I was lucky in that I started experiencing the side effects of it early in life. Like I was 21, and I have a video about that. But I was 21. But some people don't start feeling it until they get older. And that's when they start dying earlier too. And like, it's just sad. And this is not helping future generations of people. So for people who want to lose weight, who are actively in fat acceptance, like, having their favorite people tell them that they are fat phobic is just going to create such mental internal turmoil for them, I think. Because nobody talks about like the internal struggle of being in fat acceptance and also deciding to leave once you've been in it for a while. And it is cult shit. Like, phrasing it like that, it is super culty. And yeah, I could go on about this, but like, losing weight doesn't make you fat phobic. It does literally, but the way that they've decided, the way that fat acceptance has like taken on the term fat phobia, it doesn't mean that. But in terms of like, I am fat phobic in that I am afraid of becoming super morbidly obese again because I was miserable. But do I hate fat people? No, absolutely not. Anyways, sorry. That was a short one, but I just wanted to put it in here.
I'm leaving at 4 p.m. and I don't care what anyone says.
If you had a business that you were passionate about, then you would know what it takes to run a business, but you don't. So don't even act like you know what I'm talking about.
So again, here it's saying like, she just says fat person existing in society. And then it's kind of alluding to society saying, as a fat person existing, you don't deserve basic human respect. Get off the internet and go to the gym and eat less. So again, this is the same thing that I was talking about in my negative psychological effects of being in the fat acceptance movement. And the fact that these people are preaching to people who follow them that society thinks that you don't deserve basic human respect, like, that's not something anybody should think anybody thinks about them. Like, I don't care who you, unless you're like the scum of the earth, but like, fat people are not. And I can guarantee you the amount of people who actually think that fat people don't deserve basic human respect is just such a small, minuscule amount of people. And these fat acceptance activists make it seem that everybody in society just fucking hates fat people and thinks they need to get off the internet and go to the gym less and like, I just don't think that's the case. Like, having talked to so many people about this in the context of like talking about my weight loss and again how it's kind of like a very interesting social experiment, I have never once met a single person, and I have talked to many people in many different industries, health and wellness included. I have never met a single person who was like, fat people don't deserve basic human respect. Like, what a dangerous, dangerous thing to be telling your followers people think about them. Specifically because, like I said, I firmly believe I am of the opinion a lot of fat acceptance followers are young girls, because I was one of those. And it's just so scary that more and more, because when I was in it, like, TikTok didn't exist. And so like, there wasn't a lot of this short form content where people can just say super harmful, negative bullshit. And like, sorry. I think it is so dangerous to be telling people that society thinks you don't deserve basic human respect. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this one.
I'm leaving at 4 p.m. and I don't care what.
So this one says we shouldn't comment on people's food videos without consent because that's harassment.
It says.
But they need, and she's saying this is what people say to that sentiment. But they need to know eating that is bad for them. But I just care about their health. But they need to know how many calories are in it because that's important to some people. So I wanted to talk about this one because of the idea that Marissa is commenting on. She's commenting on consent and harassment. And she does talk about dating and stuff a lot on her platform, which we'll get to. And she talks about sex a lot on her platform as well, which we'll get to, which is great. I think saying that commenting on people's videos that they post on the internet is without their consent and is harassment is super dangerous to the conversation surrounding consent in anything, because consent, unfortunately, is something that is still very blurry for a lot of people, and spreading misinformation about what is without consent and what is harassment is really dangerous no matter what context you're talking about. Sorry, my leg really itches. And that's why this one really bothered me, because I am of the belief that no matter what size your following is, that once you put something on the internet, you're leaving it up to public opinion. Like, you're leaving it up to public opinion. You're opening it up to conversation, to comments. I get a lot of comments about my weight. I don't really post a lot about food on the internet because that's something that I just don't want to do. And I just get a lot of comments making assumptions about me based on my weight, things I say, whatever. And I don't consider that without my consent, and I don't consider it harassment. And I just generally don't think, I think it's something that you kind of have to realize when you start posting on any platform on the internet, is that you are opening it up for public opinion. And I think that saying that people commenting on your videos, she's saying negative comments, negatively commenting on your videos is without consent, it was without the creator's consent, is really starting a harmful narrative about what consent actually means. So that's why I want to talk about this one, just because I think she talks about sex and dating a lot on her platform, which is great, and we're going to get to it. I think also spreading this misinformation in conjunction with talking about sex and dating on her platform is dangerous. On to the next one.
Stupid fucking whore! So I'll just shut the fuck up! Oh.
That audio in itself is a trip. If you've ever seen the original video on TikTok. But again, our girl's talking about consent and is saying that she's just talking about consent again, and it's really stupid, and I hate it, and it's a really bad narrative to spread about consent, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I forgot I put this one in here. I just think this narrative towards consent is bullshit and is spreading misinformation about what consent actually means. If you're just watching it, it says when a fat person exists and everyone thinks that our existence is consent for unwanted advice, so we get harassed and bullied for existing. Okay. Before we even get into this one, this is gonna warrant a big conversation. I've already been filming for so long these reaction videos, and I made an 8-minute compilation, but this video is the main video that made me want to react to this person, because there's just so many layers to this. Okay, let's just go into it. Let's go.
Strong, independent woman that I am, who knows my worth, knows how I should and deserve to be treated, and how I don't take shit from anyone. This results in me having a very hard time dating. Mind you, I love standing up for myself. I love setting boundaries because half the time people don't like them. A part of me enjoys that because it means I'm doing something right. But it's still frustrating nonetheless. So here's the story. Matched with this guy on Bumble. Talked for about 2 weeks. Week and a half maybe. On Wednesday, we made plans to hang out for Sunday, which was yesterday. We were talking the night before. We confirmed we'd hang out in the evening. We talked the morning of. Let's preface that he wanted to hang out with me. I was fine with that. But because he asked me to hang out, that means that he needs to initiate the day of type of thing, you know? And he didn't. It was like 2:30 and he still did not say anything about hanging out that evening. Now, with that said, that means that I'm not going to sit around all day waiting for a guy to say, "Hey." So I did other shit. I was sanding some of my jewelry that I'm making right now, and I was watching some TV with my mom. So when he asked me, "What's up?" I said, "Oh, I'm sanding some jewelry and watching TV." He's like, "Oh, cool." I was like, "How about you?" He's like, "Not much." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So then it's like 7, 8-ish, and I send him this lovely
LOL at the Uber Eats notification on my phone. Oops. I ordered a Starbucks. Sue me. Okay, sorry.
of me setting my boundaries, not being rude at all, but letting him know that the way he was treating the whole situation I did not approve of. So I said, "I thought we were hanging out today, LOL." So he didn't answer that, so I said this. "I'm not one to wait around all day for a guy, so I'm no longer available to hang out tonight as you never clarified or confirmed anything yet." And now here's where I state my boundary. If there's a next time, I'm going to need things to be a little bit more concrete. Example, a guaranteed time, not just a general time frame, because my time is valuable and I don't appreciate it being wasted. Because essentially he did waste my time. I'm not mad, just stating my boundaries, so if you can respect them, then cool, and if not, then oh well for you. So I sent that last night. I wake up, he read it, but didn't say anything. So I type, "Nothing?" Not even 2 minutes later, he deletes me. Aww. Poor little boy child who doesn't know how to handle an independent woman who knows her worth. And because I'm a petty motherfucker, I messaged this on Bumble. "I don't get it. You wanted to hang out with me. We chatted well and we had plans. We didn't end up hanging out because you didn't initiate the plans that we had. So I set a boundary because I know my worth, and then you blocked me? Make it make sense. Make it make sense, buddy. But seriously, make it make sense." And he has since unmatched me. Ladies, know your worth. Stand up for yourself. It's okay.
Okay. So, like I said, I've seen that clip. I will say I'm gonna go back. Okay. I will say the 2 videos after this, are from a channel called Funty-Times. I could not find the original ones, so I took them from their video. And Funty-Times has a really great video kind of just encapsulating Marissa as a person and a content creator. But I first saw this clip on one of their videos, because I do watch their videos. I think they went from kind of LOL fat people are ridiculous to actually lending some cool insight to things in the fat acceptance realm, so that's why I stuck around on their channel. But so yeah, I saw this clip on one of their videos and I was like, whoa. And so when I started making this, when I was like, I should make a video about her, this was the one video that came to my mind because this is ridiculous. And so if you didn't notice, at the beginning, she titled it like "Dating While Fat," when literally none of this has to do with this man treating her differently because she is fat. None of it. And I think the way that she handled this situation is incredibly immature and incredibly disrespectful of this dude's boundaries. Now, I have been around on dating apps, okay? I have... Don't get me started. I have done plenty of dating for my life, to be completely honest with you. And yeah, I've had guys be like, "Let's hang out tomorrow. Let's hang out Friday," like whatever. And then that day comes and we even talk that day and like they don't bring it up. And so you know what I do as a strong, independent woman? I'd be like, "Hey, I know you said you might want to meet up. I'd really like to meet you too. Why don't we do that?" Because I get TikTok has a lot of toxic dating advice as it is. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that like men have to do everything. They have to plan everything. That I don't, but I am a planner. I'm a Virgo. What can I say? But I don't agree with that narrative at all. And I get it to a certain extent. Like chivalry's great, but like I do think a partnership is a partnership, and if you're dating at any capacity, it is kind of a partnership, and so like people should be putting equal effort. Anyways, she has the audacity after he unfriends her on Snapchat, after she says all this bullshit about like needing more specifics, when she didn't even try and attempt to get any from him, she has the audacity to go on Bumble and continue talking to him about this whole situation. That's borderline harassment, in my opinion. Like, I could never dream of doing that. I'd just be like, okay, interaction's over, whatever, you know? I think, I also think that this guy, like I said, he made a boundary. He unfriended her because she made him uncomfortable somehow, which I don't blame him. And she took it as an insult. She talks about her boundaries, which is great. Everybody needs boundaries. But she doesn't seem to acknowledge the fact that this dude was creating a boundary of his own by ending the conversation, by ghosting her. And I don't like ghosting. I just don't like ghosting. But she obviously made him uncomfortable, and he was like, okay, I'm done. But she took it as he did that because she's fat. And so I think kind of, again, spreading this incorrect narrative about misconstruing him creating a boundary and her being like, he did it because I'm fat. I think spreading that narrative, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I think that's really dangerous to spread to a young group of people. Like, oh, if somebody sets a boundary with you because you made them uncomfortable, it's just because they weren't attracted to you anymore because you were fat. Like, that's what I took from this video. I don't know if that's correct. But there's so much to unpack here. But I think it can all be boiled down to, she essentially like went off on this person she's never met before for not following through with a suggestion when she didn't try to follow through with the suggestion either. And it has nothing to do with her being fat. Literally nothing. Like I talked about in my negative psychological effects of being in fat acceptance. Fat acceptance talks a lot about people just aren't attracted to you because you're fat and like whatever. But I've just learned in my experience that that's just not true. I think a lot of attraction has to do with your personality. And I think our friend here could probably use a little bit of a moment of introspection. And I know her whole shtick is like, I'm me, take it or leave it, whatever. But like, there needs to be some room. There just has to be some wiggle room, regardless of what you're looking for on a dating app, of like, you gotta try, you know? And even just a little bit, even to be like, hey, are we still hanging out? And if your personality does not exude that, then people probably aren't going to be that into it, in my personal opinion. And I have these next two videos just to kind of show her personality a little bit more. And also there is one about, or there's 3 videos, sorry. There is one coming up about dating again, so let's just get into that.
There's this stereotype and stigma when it comes to fat people about not being desired sexually or romantically. And this is a stereotype. I have talked about this before. I have talked about my active bedroom life. And like, for example, this week, 4 different guys. Next week, I've got 2 on the line. And like, when I talk about this, a lot of people are like, well, it's not right to brag about all these one-night stands you're having. And one thing that I don't think that people comprehend, because it goes along with the stigma that fat people are not desirable, is that all of these people that I saw this week and that I'm going to see next week are not one-night stands. These are guys who I have relations with, who I have seen more than 5 times before. So they are not one-night stands. Because guess what? People do come back to see fat people because we are desirable. So go unlearn your fat phobia. Thank you.
So, I need it out there in the open that I'm not slut-shaming anybody. Anybody who's been on my channel knows that I had a considerable hoe phase when I moved to Denver. A very considerable one. Where my weeks were not too dissimilar to what she is talking about currently. And I do think it's important to talk about how this whole narrative about like fat people not being desirable, and I know I just said that Fat Acceptance preaches that a lot. I think she might be kind of one of the exceptions to that, because she does talk about her like one night stands and her hookups and whatever, her escapades, if you will, a lot. And I think that's great, and I think that's a good thing to talk about. But I do think the way in which she talks about it kind of feeds into a bigger problem. And this was brought up in my video. I can't remember what video it was. Somebody commented about this when I was talking about like attraction and fatness and whatever, and how oftentimes men see plus size fat women as like an easy lay, and how we are the secret. We're never the person they go out with in public. I don't know to what extent she has dated these people, but it sounds like it's just a lot of canoodling, which is great. And I don't know how to phrase this without sounding horrible, but like all these people she's talking about are like one night stands or people she's consistently hooking up with. It says nothing about the societal narrative that plus size women, I don't think it helps that narrative, that stereotype. I don't think it helps the stereotype that society's kind of created, that fat women are an easy lay and that's all they're good for. I don't think this helps combat that at all. And again, not slut shaming, live your truth. I think anybody who wants to have a hoe phase should have a hoe phase, because you learn so much about yourself if you do it responsibly. Anybody who wants to have a hoe phase should have a hoe phase, but you should do it responsibly. And I think if you're responsible, very intuitive with it, that's fine. But I think what she's talking about here isn't necessarily what everybody else is talking about the problem is. So like everybody's kind of talking about how plus size fat women aren't seen as people who are worthy of like going out in public with, right? That's a very common thing that I hear, at least. And that they're only good in private, for one thing. And I think Marissa kind of bragging about her sexcapades doesn't really help that. And I don't think she's doing what she thinks she's doing here. And yeah, so I just wanted to add this on too, because she talks about this kind of stuff a lot. And yeah, again, I'm not slut shaming and in the slightest, but like, I just think the conversation she thinks she's combating, she's not combating at all, by saying she's having multiple hookups with multiple people. Okay, these next two, I put in here to just kind of add some anecdotal evidence of her personality. But yeah, I just wanted to put these in here because they really bothered me.
Getting up out of bed to go on my daily walk to Tim Hortons to get food. And I make it in time, plenty of time before they close, yet they're not f***ing serving food anymore. Do you understand how f***ing frustrating that is? As a depressed person who doesn't want to f***ing make food, I had more energy to get up, to go outside, to go for a f***ing walk, to get food because I couldn't make any. And then the Tim Hortons that I go to literally is not selling food. You bet I said fuck you to the guy and left. I f***ing hate this pandemic and I f***ing hate people. Holy shit! Fuck you, Tito. Doug. Fuck everybody. Today.
Okay, I forgot to put another one in here, but it was about her biking to like a bike parts store or something, and they were telling her that she couldn't have her backpack in there and she had to leave it at the front while she was shopping, and how she was just really feeling very inconvenienced about that and just wanted to be an asshole about it and like not, and like carry all the stuff that she carried in her backpack with her while leaving her back. She was just being an asshole about it, again, to service employees. I think this one I put in here because one, it's ridiculous, and two, one of the things I hate about Fat Acceptance is how it makes fat people seem really sensitive and immature and just like, sensitive and immature. I've talked about this before. I think people already have this negative idea of fat people, that they are lazy and sensitive and immature. And I feel like fat people complaining about this kind of thing doesn't help that. And do I think that's fair that they can't openly complain about stuff like this? No. But do I think it's helping her cause at all? Also no. And I think it also makes people with depression, aka me, it made me really mad because I function not all the time. I think it makes people with mental illness and depression come off as very sensitive and lazy, which is already a stigma we're fighting, and that doesn't help anything either. Not to mention she's being extremely rude to service employees. She's being super rude to food service workers during a pandemic when things are already difficult enough for them as it is. It's not just her world. And I think that's what really bothered me about this one is she's like, this is ruining my day. The world revolves around me as a fat person who's depressed. And that does not help the narrative, or that does not help combat the narrative that fat people are lazy and sensitive. And that is one thing that I really just don't like about the fat acceptance movement is that they perpetuate that narrative a lot without even thinking about it. And again, in this case, perpetuating the narrative that depressed people are lazy and sensitive, which doesn't help anybody either. So I just wanted to add this in there as a little tidbit about her personality. So I've talked enough. I'm going to stop this screen recording and I will be back in a minute. Okay. I think I've talked for long enough. I think my audio recording has been going for like almost an hour. And my cat's feeder just went off, so it means that's time for them to eat, and I have to keep them in my room when I film because they bite me because they get stressed out when I'm talking. I just wanted to make this video as some anecdotal evidence as to why I do not like the fat acceptance movement. I do think I'm going to make more of these because I talk a lot about the fat acceptance movement and things they say, but I don't really show a lot of evidence because, quite frankly, it takes a lot of time to compile, but I think reaction videos are kind of a great way to continue on the conversation and show evidence. So let me know if you'd like me to keep doing that in the comments, and also just let me know anything else you feel about this in the comments. And thank you again so much for watching. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Drink your water, take your meds, and I will see you in the next one. I love you so much, and yeah, okay, bye.